Welcome to Telltale Books. I'm continuing my series of the complete works, or at least everything I can get my hands on, by A. van Vogt, with his fourth published work titled The Gryb. It was published in the April 1940 issue of course, Astounding Science Fiction magazine. It also has an alternate title in some publications of Repetition. It is part of the Rull series, which got collected together as a fix-up novel called The War Against the Rull. I'm going to read that separately just to kind of compare after I read all the short stories that make it up, and kind of compare that to the experience of reading them all strung together as the novel and see how it is, and report on that later on. So this was the first published story that was part of the series about the Rull. And reading just this one story, I couldn't tell you what Rull is, or how it has anything to do with this story and the Gryb. You can, of course, find the Gryb as its original short work online in a PDF of the April 1940 Astounding, or you can track down an actual issue, or you can also get it in Van Vogt's paperback collection, which is titled for the story, The Gryb. This is actually, I believe, a British edition that I have here. Yeah, from New English Library and Times Mirror. This was published in 1976. So it's not this isn't currently in print, and I'm not aware of anything currently in print that has this story, but it was pretty easy to find this book, and it's in great shape. Pretty easy to find it online. Anyway, reading the story in Astounding, there's some super cool artwork, which I'm going to use as the title in this video, by the way. So what is the Gryb about? You have human beings have gone out into the solar system. And remember, this is 1940. We've colonized Venus, we've colonized Mars, we have colonies on the moons of Jupiter. In particular, Europa is being mined for steel. Apparently there's a lot of steel on Europa, at least in Van Vogt's universe. And so Earthmen are there mining the steel. The minister of the Earth government is a guy named Thomas. And it's never really explained why he goes to Europa, but he goes to Europa, and he's going to see one of the steel mines. And one of the European people is tasked with taking him there. Earth is cutting a deal with the Mars government to give Europa to Mars. And they're doing this in order to avoid going to war with Mars. The Europeans don't like this. They feel like Earth is not standing behind them. They feel like Earth is giving up on them and just handing them off to somebody else to govern them, who may not respect all that they've accomplished on Europa. So the Europeans are up in arms, and they don't want Thomas to leave Europa alive. Now the title refers to a creature that lives on Europa, a native animal, very large, very dangerous, very tough to kill. And they smell blood, and it kind of makes them crazy, and they'll stop at nothing to get at it. So the European guy strands them out in the wilderness between the city and the mine, where they are sure to be picked up by a Gryb and killed, thus eliminating the minister. The European also loses his life, but he's a patriot going to give his life for European freedom or whatever. Okay, I'm not going to continue the synopsis beyond that because I'll only end up spoiling it. But the creature of the Gryb is more of a metaphor for what Thomas is trying to secretly manage in dealing with Mars, to try to avoid a war and get everybody what everybody wants in the end. Very much a story about politics, and very much a story about how not just humans but other creatures tend to fall for the same trick again and again. The same kinds of things tend to work again and again in similar situations. Down through history, times change, but people don't. The story, I felt, was not as good as the 3 previous Van Vogt stories that I've reviewed here. I felt it was a little lacking in the imagination that we got in the other stories. The other stories were just incredibly imaginative. This story had some imagination to it, but it was more about the politics. It was a good story, well written, but just didn't blow me away. So it's not a top tale, but it is an enjoyable story. It's a very good example of the sort of story that was published in Astounding in the 1940s. It's a very Campbellian type of story. If you like Golden Age fiction, or if you like Van Vogt's fiction, I think the story is worth taking the time to track it down and read it. I think you'll be interested. A lot of other people, not so much. But definitely, if you're a Van Vogt fan, you should be reading The Gryb. It's a terrific story. Or just read The War Against the Raw, and it's going to be part of it. So, have you read The Gryb or Repetition or The War Against the Raw? What do you think? What are your thoughts about it? Let me know in the comments. I really, really appreciate all comments that people leave on our videos, and I like to hear from you. I like to hear your thoughts, no matter what they are. And I have Telltale is a really good group of followers. I get some comments that are not completely in love with some stories, but never get anything that I think is out of line. I hear other YouTubers talking about people getting way out of line with them. Our audience so far never has, and I thank you for that. I appreciate an intelligent conversation. I appreciate a well thought through criticism of a story. And I appreciate the respect that you show to us in what we find in these stories. And I hope you'll come back and watch more of these Van Vogt series, or all that. Man, I've got such a long list of authors I'm going through now. I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying. I've been kind of accelerating my schedule and even letting Emily drop off of a lot of these, just because I would like to finish these in my lifetime. And I'm loving all the stories I'm reading. I really did like reading The Gryb, even though it's not going to be one of my very, very favorites. I really enjoyed reading it. I enjoy all this stuff. It's why I do this. It's why I'm here. It's why Telltale is here. So come on back for more. And I'll see you in the next video.